Are you serious? Are you serious? Sitting here in the darkness, I just think it's maybe fitting reporting that Fidel Castro, the communist dictator, the murderer, the mass murderer, one of the most meanest, cruelest, abusive leaders in the history of the world, has died. At the age of 90, you can say farewell to Fidel, as Fidel Castro has died. His brother, of course, has already been running the country now for about the last 4 or 5 years, and that's Raul Castro. It's amazing. In the streets of Havana, it's very quiet. Not much is going on. But in the streets of Little Havana in Miami, Florida, they are filled with people are pouring into the streets. They're celebrating, they're dancing, they're partying because Fidel Castro has died. You know, I had a firsthand witness. When I was in Israel, a man that Jose is his name, and he's a doctor. He's a medical doctor, and he actually, I baptized him in Indiana about a year and a half ago, and then he came to Israel, and I baptized him and his wife also in the Jordan River this past week. But I sat down with him one evening and said, "Tell me, how long did you live in Cuba under Castro?" And he said, "Until the age of 40. He lived under communism for the first 40 years of his life. And he said it was just brutal. He was a doctor, and, but he had to do whatever they told him to do. People lost their businesses constantly. People were imprisoned. People were persecuted. When the revolution first began, he said, they killed all the nuns and all the priests. They locked all the church doors. Castro just took over hotels, took over industries, just basically took over all of the wealth, imprisoned people, killed people, ruled with a rod of iron. And he has kept this same oppressive spirit upon that island for over almost 60 years, for 57 years between he and his brother. But tonight, Castro has died, and so we'll find out more. Now, you'll watch the national media. I want you to watch the mass media. And matter of fact, my friend Jose, he left Cuba because he had been put on a blacklist. Somebody had wrote anti-Castro graffiti on the clinic that he was running, a medical clinic. Soldiers came and questioned him. He said, "I don't know anything about it. I don't know who did it." And he realized then, they told him they wanted an answer by tomorrow. He realized then that he was going to be blamed for it. He got a hold of 3 of his other friends that had already been talking about fleeing Cuba in the first place. And realizing that he was blackballed and on the blacklist, they had a raft already. He said he took 20 cans of condensed milk, 20 gallons of water with lemons and limes, little bags to put their urine in so they could tie the urine up and throw it out in the ocean, because he said urine would attract sharks. And the 4 of them got on this little raft and headed for America. They were in the ocean for 4 days and 4 nights. Their raft had started taking on water. They were sitting in water to their waist. He said, "You'll find out where God is when you're in this situation." He began to pray all night, and early the next morning, a plane circled over top. It was a U.S. Coast Guard, and 2 hours later, they came and picked him up. They took him and his 3 friends back to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where he was in prison for a year by the United States government, but then finally released and allowed to come to the United States. He said, "I love America. I love freedom. I love the Lord. And I just want to say, pray for my people back in Cuba." That was last week. I had this interview with him, and Castro is dead. But will communism die? There's been a shift, a kingdom shift. Trump has just won the election, and Castro has just died. What does this mean for North America and for this entire hemisphere? We're going to have to wait and see. Something's going on, folks. Give your life to Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. I'll be back with more current world events and how they relate to Bible prophecy. Fidel Castro, dead at age 90. I'll be back.